you ever wondered why some voices get heard while others get lost in the noise? It's not luck, it's strategy. Today, we're talking with Eric Ryan, America's sweetheart, host of Goodnight America and founder of Offensively Creative. Now, he didn't just show up. He made people pay attention. Now, we're going to break down the moments that helped him change everything, the strategies that worked, and some of them that might not have worked so much. And if you're done blending in and really want to stand out, this one's for you. So I'm Matt Halloran. I have spent years helping experts build authority and grow influence. If you're ready to stand out, this podcast is your blueprint. Real strategies to make your voice rise above the noise. Eric, how many times did I have to do the intro, dude? Welcome to the show, man. It's nice to see you again.
That was of the 172 that you did. That was the best. And I hope you keep that one.
I really, really appreciate that. So, okay, long and the short of this is you're America's sweetheart, dude.
Yes.
I want to start there, if you don't mind. Help me with that. Where did that come from? How did that work? Who monikered you that? Who gave you that moniker? Let's talk about that at the beginning.
Okay, well, let's start. It occurred to me very early on in life that only rappers and professional wrestlers gave themselves monikers. And I thought, why are they the only two industries that can just say some shit and people go along with it? So what I did is I ran a campaign against Meg Ryan and Jennifer Aniston for America's Sweetheart. And I came out on top. So I think if you say something dumb in front of your name, it gets people off their, they don't know what to think about you. You know what I mean? You're probably crazy, but maybe you're just here for a good time. I don't know, which is what I like.
A little bit of both, man.
A little bit scared. Yeah. Like who? And then you get to refer to yourself in the third person. It just makes me happy when people are confused.
Well, it just makes me smile. Your image, your logo, your whole, what you've got on your shirt. I mean, it's really the whole, I know it's amazing. You are the epitome of what we've wanted to have on the show because you've truly authentically leaned into the Ericness, right? I mean, this is you to your core. So when you started creating content and doing all of this, when did you realize that you needed to do something like America's Sweetheart? What was the epiphany besides the wrestlers and the boxers and all of those people? How did you end up professionally making that decision? And when did it happen?
So I've been in marketing since 2012, and me and my business partner ended up buying the agency that we were working for, which is nice. But way back in the beginning, I thought marketing, and listen, let me be clear about this. The idea of getting pleasure and fulfillment out of a job is brand new. Like 150 years ago, if you were working in a mine, you just were trying to avoid black lung and not having your children starve to death. So I recognize that the idea of being happy at work is stupid. But we live in a time where self-actualization is vaguely possible. So why not pursue it? So I got into marketing because I thought I was going to be like Mad Men. I thought I was going to show up a little hungover and come up with like half an idea. I give it to my underlings. I go out to lunch, another 3 Manhattans, come back, take a nap. They've done something with my idea. I take the credit for it, but it's nothing like that. It's spreadsheets and it's execution of boring tactics in a boring way. And that was really heartbreaking. Now, the guy who owned the agency also happened to own the country's first and biggest bonsai tree e-commerce site. But he was so wrapped up in SEO and PPC and content marketing that he sort of let that atrophy. And I was like, dude, can I play around with this? Can I try to sell some bonsai trees? I know nothing about bonsai trees, but I think I can write reasonably well. Yeah. So I started writing a newsletter, and all of a sudden he went from like negative 30,000. The next year he was up 30,000. Then it was in the 100,000s. And then eventually he sold the agency to us because he went and bought a bonsai farm. I know, that's batshit crazy. But if you would describe the trees in a funny way, and if you would write the newsletters in a funny way, you didn't have to know about the trees themselves because people were entertained by the marketing that got them in. And that is what marketing is, I think. Like tricking people. Like, I forget, Bernbach, I think, said something to the effect of, we don't read ads, we read what entertains us, and sometimes they happen to be ads.
Nice.
And I think that is what marketing should be. And really, it's odd because we like being entertained. We like buying things, but somehow this industry is demonized for some reason. It's so conceptually bizarre to me because I like buying things. I want to know about the shit, but just entertain me and then I'll buy the shit. Anyway, so that's where it started. People would write back to the newsletter like we are friends. Like, dude, you're just on a list of 60,000 people, but I'm glad that I affected you in some way. Or you're very lonely. Either way, So I think if you, that whole thing, like trying to be funny, not trying to get too technical, don't try to sell the Mercedes with the spark plugs. Like, oh shit, look, no, man. It's because you're superior to people that don't drive Mercedes. That's the thing, you know? So if you can just boil it down to some sort of sex appeal, entertainment, make them laugh, make them feel something, then you can sell whatever you want. So that was where this whole thing kind of came from.
All right. When did you feel the big tipping point though? So okay, so you have this kick-ass newsletter, you bought the agency, and now the Eric needs to come out, right?
Yeah.
So talk about that component of all of this.
I think it's difficult because, again, I think what we're doing right now in marketing is it's antithetical to the very idea, meaning that you can study what other people do and then do it, and that's what people do. So you want to sound the same as everybody else. You know, ChatGPT and AI is only going to hurt this because it can't have an original idea. All it is an algorithm that you pump through. So in the beginning, I thought, man, wouldn't everybody love the big idea, the thing that marketing used to be about, the big, sexy campaign? And nobody wanted that. So the original agency is still what it is, and it's very SEO and PPC and content based at HubSpot, and that's what pays the bills, and it's great. I spun that off to Offensively Creative. Originally, it was mostly B2C, so it was newsletters and goofy campaigns. But even in that realm, customers are very weary. So they liked me conceptually. But once anything goes through committee, it gets worse and worse and worse. And then you're just setting out the same boring shit that everybody else is. So then we transitioned to video, and I started doing a video series because I think everyone should be on video. Because here's the thing, especially if you're in the B2B space and you sell some sort of service, everyone hates a sales pitch. Everybody loves, do you want to be on my show? Which is why everybody should have a show. Even if no one listens to it, at least you're talking to whales, or you could be if you invite them on your show.
Yeah.
So I started doing a daily show on LinkedIn Live. And then eventually I was discovered by this guy that produced Last Comic Standing from NBC. And then he was like, we should work together. And I was like, you can spot talent, sir. And then he sent me his client list, and the guy that owned National Lampoon or owns National Lampoon is on there. And I was like, oh man, whatever we do, can it be like National Lampoon presents America's Sweetheart, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, turns out it's a little more complicated, but the guy does seem to like me. So we're working on something here. So again, like it's worked. It's not linear, it's up and down, but now it feels like the things that I do are working in the way that I need them to work. Yeah. And, I'm hoping that makes sense to other people and they kind of do the same thing.
You said something that is how Kirk and I built our entire business is, I'm not going to pitch you something, but hey, you want to be a guest on our show? We did 500 episodes of the Top Advisor Marketing Podcast. And that's how we built a multi-million-dollar podcasting business in financial services, right? And our most successful clients, whether they're advisors or not, they use their podcast, their videos, their all of that stuff that is for prospecting purposes. And that's when people, because I'm sure you hear this all the time. Well, what's the ROI? Well, right. I get you to come on the show, right? And then you buy my stuff because you had such a great experience on the show. But I have to get the right people to come on the show so that they're going to want to buy the stuff.
The other thing about the podcast too is like, it's great to invite the person on, but even if people don't listen to it, you have a video to put on your website. You get a video to put in your newsletter. You get snippets to put on your social media. It's like you sit down for an hour, you get 8,000 pieces of content. You look credible, which is nice, unless you suck really bad. You have to suck so bad at this because everybody else sucks. I mean, not us. We are podcasting gods to get to this level. Oh, I can't even imagine. But you don't have to be the Tom Brady's of podcasting like we are. You can be the Kirk Cousins and still make $30 million a year,
It's a pretty good living, right? And so I want to lean into this whole idea of there's so many people who really suck. And when you and I was on your show when we were just talking about podcasting in general, because we're both nerds with this, it's the preparation. It's the preparing for the show, right? Would you mind just sharing a little bit about what you do to get your energy, your focus, your attention, and your preparation where it needs to be so that when somebody does watch America's Sweetheart, when they watch your show, Goodnight America, that they're in that space you want them to be?
Because I call myself America's Sweetheart, I think we're coming into this with the person thinking I'm pretty dumb. And them thinking I'm dumb enrages me, but I've done it to myself. So now I need to prove to them how researched and smart I am. So then I try really hard. So I sort of set a trap for myself. You know how I don't want to go back to Brady too much, although I do worship the man. See, he's right here, Tom Brady. But
Okay, I was not prepared for that, just to be clear. But
Brady needed to feel disrespected, and I think that I do that to myself. But I am like, so I listen to so many podcasts because part of my research is listening to the podcasts that my guests have been on before. Mm-hmm. And everybody, almost to a man or woman who's like, talked to me after our show goes, oh, you were so prepared. You did your research. That to me is 101. You better be prepared and do your research, and nobody does. So that's one of those things, like, just do that. Listen to one appearance from your guest, one part, and you will be able to reference things. You know what they're all about. It makes the conversation so much easier and deeper and more meaningful. They feel special because you put a little effort. And God damn it, man, if they're coming on your show, put in a little effort.
Well, so let's just talk about the show, because the way you've set up the show, I get asked all the time, you know, hey, how should I format my show? Should the show have a very specific format? You have a very specific format that is so wildly entertaining and engaging right from the get-go. Would you mind sharing with everybody how you've set up your show?
I've had many shows that have all sort of culminated in the show that I'm doing. The show prior to this was called the 5 Bourbon Lunch Show. And I would send people 5 bourbon samples unmarked. And then I would ask them, there are 5 desert island bands. Their 5 favorite movies, their 5 favorite books, I think. And then a couple more, whatever. They were deeply, their death row meal. And then what I would do is I'd read the pretentious tasting notes from the website about the bourbon. We drink the bourbon together, and then we talk about music, movies, and food. And then it was great because we felt very connected. I thought it worked from a viewer's point of view because everybody likes movies, music, food, books to some degree. But the problem was, by the 5th bourbon, we're both drunk and the footage is unusable. So I was like, all right, I gotta kill the booze aspect. Not only are we drunk, but the day's gone. Like, you know, I mean, it's tough. So that was that. And then, but I liked the personal thing. So I discovered the more I know about the person and the more I just don't ask questions off a piece of paper, the more human they are. Mm-hmm. And it's the personal experience, like my opinion on your subject matter. And I know I'm wrong, but then my ignorance allows you to bounce it back with some intelligent shit. So I had a guy on last week who wrote a book about porn addiction. So in my research, I watched all the shows where he was on, and all the guests go, there's porn on the internet? Like, everybody was a teetotaling weirdo who'd never even, but to me, I'm like, okay, here's my experience with porn. Here's how, here's what I do. This is my understanding. Now you tell me. So I think not just being somebody that reads questions off a piece of paper, but somebody who has genuine interest in the subject matter, who is willing to look like an idiot because they're like, well, this is what I think. Why is that right or wrong? I think that too, like, just the conversational aspect is very important to me. Yeah. And it also tears down this thing where the person just gives you the rote, memorized answers because they know what you're going to ask.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and so we started off the show with you talking about some headlines, right? And you know, how I was, you know, my take on the headlines. And then we got into talking about the book, and we got into talking about what we do here at ProudMouth. And we really covered a pretty wide array of things, but the pacing was really, really fantastic. And that's because you were prepared. That's because, and the other thing that I found with great hosts like you is you match the person's energy. Right now, you're still full Eric, right? But I've seen the times where you're a little bit more serious. If you have a little bit more of a seriousness, now you're still silly and fun. But I love that sort of chameleon-esque. In fact, we've talked about this before, that what you're talking about is what I call the Larry King approach, right? Where you look unprepared, or you look like this is just very, very fluid and all of that, but you've actually done your work. That's kind of also crossing a line with Terry Gross, who happens to be my favorite interviewer of all time, because man, that woman knows everything about you before you ever get on the show. Right. And she makes you feel so comfortable so fast, because it's like, oh, I love that. She knows me, and yeah.
And it makes it feel good. And I think we talked about this on the when you were on my show, but like Howard Stern at his best, I think, is untouchable. And when he's at his best is usually when he has somebody from a band that he loves, because his musical knowledge is so deep, and he's very passionate about certain subjects, but he still asks about how often they have sex. So it's like it's a beautiful high-low approach that's funny. It's entertaining. It's everything that everything can be, if the host and the guest, reach some sort of, chemistry, which is what I'm trying to get, is some sort of chemistry.
Well, so we've the ultimate goal of this show, and as everybody knows this who's listening to this, is that there's going to be the Eric Ryan playbook, right? And so they're going to be able to download your playbook, and I always want like 2 or 3, sometimes it's 5 little nuggets that are going to be the big key things. And there's 2 that you've already said, which is number 1. When you're doing a show, do the research. And God, I love that, dude. And I'm so happy that you said that. And then the second one, you said it right before, was the fact that this whole journey is not linear. I mean, you just talked about an entirely different show that you had. You know, you talked about writing a newsletter for a bonsai company, right? And it isn't linear. When you talk to people, especially in the world of marketing, about building your influence, what is the biggest mistake that you see people see that you wish that if you could just like abolish that mistake, the world would be a better place?
Copycat syndrome. You got to stop doing things that everybody else does. Yeah. And here's the other beautiful thing. So I've worked this phrase into every episode of Goodnight America, which is we can't be binary absolutists. So there are no absolutes. The things, it is never A or B. It's probably A and quadruple L when you're you know what I mean? There's somewhere in that vast spectrum. So, you know, sometimes copycatness can work if you're Pepsi to Coke and you're still wildly successful. But in today's day and age, when there's, you know, I forget what the statistic is. In any given industry, it seems like there's a million podcasts, but what is it? 6%, 12%? It's still very, very low.
Yep.
So don't be a copycat unless you're an unbelievably good copycat. And you don't even necessarily have to be yourself. You can, like that don't meet your heroes thing. Every time I read a biography about somebody, I end up hating them. Yeah. I love Warren Zevon. I read his biography. I hated him. I love Kurt Vonnegut. I read his biography. I hated him. These people aren't who they pretend to be. No. So you can make a lot of money pretending to be somebody as long as that's like, it's got to be different. It has to be entertaining. There has to be some spin on the ball. Well, I mean, or don't, but who's going to care? Like, why do the same thing as everybody else? There are no rules. We're all going to die. Give something different a shot.
There are no rules. We're all going to die. We just end the show right there, dude. That would be
just have a good time, or try, or don't. If you hate good times, I don't know. Try not to be a binary absolutist.
But even if you're like, you know, the most boring, you know, person who really hates life, lean into that, because there is a natural audience for that, right? There's a natural audience for personalities like yours and mine, and there are natural audiences for everywhere. You just have to lean into it. It's a show, man. And that's what was so much fun. We were just talking before we hit record that both of us have had some rough podcasting experiences recently. Mm-hmm. And I was just on one this morning, and it was not a show. It was literally, he had 5 questions and he was going to do whatever he could to ask me those 5 questions, regardless of where I wanted to go. He went back to the questions, and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, first off, nobody's going to watch this, right? Secondly, if they do, but here's the crazy thing, dude. He has a huge following. So his level of weirdness, his kind of, he's a Russian. I don't know. Maybe he's got a big audience in Russia, but listen, he leaned into it. I, of course, leaned into it because I'm going to try to put on a good show too. But now, so you have fans, right? So we talk here a lot about this, what we call the influence continuum. And a lot of people are trying to go ahead and convince skeptics to do what they want them to do. And what we want you to do is we want your fans to do the selling for you. And you have that. What has been the best way for you to convert the people who are listening to the show or interacting with your content to people who are potentially giving you money and helping you grow yourself personally or professionally?
You know what people love is when you pay attention to them. So like they really, I don't know what it is about humans, man. They like to be seen and heard. So you got to talk to your fans. That's another thing. But I will say this. So fans on the social media level are bizarre because you have to weed through the people calling you an idiot and calling you out, like commenting how stupid your hair looks. I know, I do it on purpose. You're not telling me anything I don't know. But it's the internet is a cesspool of really awful things, but then that's how you communicate with the people that like you as well. So it's a delicate balance. I do think that whole thing about interacting with comments, talking to people that share your stuff is very important. TikTok, I've noticed, I don't give a shit about TikTok. I finally reached the age where any new social media I don't care about.
Dude.
I'm on there, and dude, I've got to tell you, I get a ton of things and shares and likes. And holy shit, this is the most, and it almost seems the healthiest, which is bizarre to me. So I have to embrace that. I've been a YouTube snob because, it's the oldest and that's where I have the most followers. But yeah, man, you got to pay attention to people. You got to pretend you like them. It's very important. Pretending that you like people.
Well, you look at Taylor Swift's meteoric rise, right? Which actually wasn't meteoric, by the way. I mean, she put in the work and the reps, but the stuff that she does with her fans is why her fans love her so much, right? And I don't have anywhere near your level of notoriety. And really, we've worked in such a closed space for so long, but I'll go speak at conferences. I do that often. And I will have people who will come up to me and be like, oh my God, I love your show. I follow everything that you do. Hey, can I take a picture?
That's awesome, right?
Well, of course, dude. Of course I'm going to say yes to that, right? And I've got the same goofy smile that I do in every single, it's like your hair, right? Yeah. I mean, you got to lean into that. And man, I just, that makes me so happy. And I knew we were kindred spirits, and I'm so grateful that you had me on your show, because that was really super fun opportunity. But this is the sort of stuff that our audience really, really needs to understand. Now, when you're looking at, you know what, I'm going to ask you a really ridiculous question. I haven't asked anybody else this question, but how do you measure success?
I'm going to be honest. I'm a hedonist, okay. Like I really, good bourbon. Like I want excess to the point of absurdity. I'm going to be honest. Like we're on this, I subscribe to this notion that I'm on this rock once. Here's the thing. So I'm an army brat. Okay. I've lived around the world. I graduated high school in South Korea. I lived in Greece. I lived in Belgium. I also lived in a bunch of shitty states like Kansas. Yeah. But a few years ago, my parents and my wife took a trip to Italy together. And we told my parents in Rome that my wife was pregnant with their first grandchild.
Oh my.
Then my father has some sort of Hilton membership. So we were able to get into the Venetian Hilton. And under the Venetian moon, me and my father were drinking $30 Manhattans, smoked. This guy came over in a tuxedo, lit the shit on fire. It was a spectacle. They gave us green apples and dark chocolate with this $30 Manhattan. I'm with my father. My parents grew up poor in a inner city right outside of Boston. My mother's one of 11. My father was not. So they came from nothing. And we drank $30 Manhattans under the Venetian moon with my pregnant wife. So I was like, I've touched the sun. And anyone that goes, these peak experiences aren't the greatest. They are. So I want more of them. Yeah. I know there's bourbon that costs $5,000. I want to drink it. I want to piss it out. You know what I mean? I want to go to every Michelin starred restaurant. I don't have any of this, like, of course I want my kids to be healthy and my wife to be happy, but also I want to be a French Duke eating soft cheeses in a hammock overlooking a kingdom. So it's probably not going to happen, but I'm telling you,
we ought to have goals, dude. Right? I mean,
gotta have goals. Yeah. So if you get like these real heart-touching moments, you go back to them a lot. Super Bowl 36, the first Patriots thing, like these peak experiences, I just want to stack them on top of each other. Yeah. And I know people actually want to pay my bills. No. I want to light a mountain of cash on fire and laugh because I got more.
That's absolutely fantastic. I'm not going to join you for the $5,000 bourbon. I'm not a bourbon guy. I'm a tequila guy. And so I would be happy to be sitting with you somewhere drinking an unbelievably unrealistic type of tequila. And
I too am a tequila snob. I'm right there with you. I'm not going to listen, anything we're spending $5,000 on, I'm putting in my mouth.
Man, I remember going to my first big conference in financial services, and we went to Shula's restaurant, Don Shula's restaurant in Vegas. And I looked at the menu, and I looked at the guy sitting next to me, and I said, "This is more than my grocery budget was last month."
It's wild, right?
And was it worth that? I don't know. But, when you have that opportunity, and really the distillation is experiences, right? When you create content, if you can make that an experience, not just for you as the host, but also the guest, they're never going to forget you. I'm never going to forget being on your show because I've never been on a show like that before. And I hope, as I know you do, that we both continue to get on bigger and bigger shows because that's the path that both of us are on. All right.
One day you and I are going to be sitting on the couch. You're going to be on my lap and Jimmy Fallon's going to be in front of us. And we're going to go, "You're a hack. We should be hosting the show." But that's the goal. And I think that's the dream. And I think it's going to come true.
I agree. I'm just looking forward to sitting on your lap, brother. That'd be fantastic.
Well, you were the Santa. And I just think I think we should reverse the dynamic because that makes for compelling television. Why doesn't Santa get to sit on anybody's lap?
That's going to be my thing. So my wife and I, by the way, this is part of our retirement plan, is that she's Mrs. Claus and I'm Santa. And so instead of the kids sitting on my lap, I'm going to sit on the kids' lap and just really mess things up. I think that would be absolutely fantastic.
You should be like, oh, what, double standard much?
Hey man, there's some big kids who want to sit on Santa's lap. So I think
why doesn't anybody ever ask you if you want a Sega Genesis?
Yeah, no, nobody asked Santa what he wants for Christmas. What's up with that, dude? All right, I'm going to ask you my favorite question that I love asking people, which is, what should I have asked you that I didn't?
I don't know. Hey, listen, I did the notes. Do you want me to go after my 3 things? Do you want to talk about my 3 things?
I mean, I wrote some things down. I like to compare lists. So when what are the 3 things you wrote down?
Okay, so I said the first, you got to be audacious. Like if you ever say something and they go, the audacity, then you know you're on the right track. Because I think there has to be a willingness to, and again, not for everybody, but for the people that are right on the cusp, you got to be bold. You got to take risks. And I think you have to embrace the idea of superfluous bullshit, which I'm going to get into later. But this guy, Rory Sutherland, you know him? He works at Ogilvy over in jolly old England over there.
Oh.
So he's so right. His whole thing is he's anti-logic because his point is if logic would have solved your problem, it would be solved by now. The answer is probably illogical. And I think this goes back to our stupid lizard brains because if you separated from the pack 2,000 years ago, you got eaten. If you separate from the pack today, you make money, which is nice. So it's illogical. And then the superfluous bullshit. He talks about Five Guys, for example, the extra fries in the bag. It feels like you're getting so much. They've calculated that into the price, but they're tricking you because you're a glutton. And you're like, oh my God, look at all these fries. That's genius. The cookies at a DoubleTree hotel, that has nothing to do with the accommodations, but it's nice. Who doesn't like a warm cookie, Then he talks about the world's longest champagne bar at a tube stop somewhere in London. They've built the world's longest champagne bar. Now, the length of the bar has nothing to do with the quality of the champagne. And also, what's a champagne bar? It doesn't matter. What they did is they took a space where you would just stare at your phone and wait for the train, and they turned it into a destination where people go and then spend lots of money on champagne. So the superfluous bullshit aspect of life and marketing and business in general is entirely ignored. My hair is superfluous bullshit. But you know who doesn't forget? Exactly. You know who doesn't forget us? Other people. You know who we forget? Everyone. Because they're not interesting.
Yeah.
The other one I was going to say, because I wrote down the list, is you're going to be like Rorschach. Do you know Rorschach from The Watchmen?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
So everybody has this imposter syndrome, but Rorschach, he's one of members of a group of superheroes. He gets set up. He gets put in a jail with people that he's had arrested. So they're gonna fuck with him, right? So he's in line for food, and they decide to attack Rorschach. And obviously Rorschach kicks their ass. He goes in, he gets the grease from the cooking thing, pours it on the guy. And as the cops, as the whatever they are, the wardens prison guards are pulling him away, he goes, "You don't get it. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me."
Yeah.
And that's like such a beautiful way to go through life. So imposter syndrome. Just be like, man, I'm the greatest. I'm not afraid of you. Here I am. Be audacious. And the last thing I wanted to say of the 3 is I need people to read 3 books. Okay.
Oh.
Ogilvy on Advertising is the greatest book ever written on advertising. I read this book. I read the chapter about Jack Daniels. I immediately went out and bought Jack Daniels. And Jack Daniels is below me. But I just needed to be, I needed that shit. He convinced me. The whole book is unbelievable. The Big Idea by George Lois. George Lois claimed that the character of Don Draper was based on him, but he goes, I was way hotter and way smarter. And the truth is he was. George Lois is a genius.
Wow.
He has 50, I think, of his Esquire magazine covers in the Museum of Modern Art. He came up with I Want My MTV. He made Tommy Hilfiger famous. He is advertising and marketing God. And he just died, and nobody gave a shit because nobody pays attention to these things. And the last one is Alchemy by Rory Sutherland. He's alive. He's done he's done TED Talks. He's done a million podcasts. He's brilliant. So if you want to stand out, I think, particularly when it comes to marketing and advertising, those 3 books, unbelievable. So I did my homework.
Yeah, well, and I'm gonna add a couple of things to that, which actually amplifies some of the things. Number one, make sure you're doing the research. Number 2, that your success is not going to be linear. No copycat, which is your imposter thing. And I also love talking to your fans. So, and by the way, I love book recommendations. We'll make sure that we have links in our show notes for all of those books specifically. I talk about Dr. Robert Cialdini's Principles of Influence on this show all the time. I think it's the greatest sales book that's ever been written, period. And it's such a wonderful foundation for influence marketing, because that's all he talks about is ethical influence, not manipulation, but actually how to get people to do the right things. The other thing is something called motivational interviewing, which is something I studied in grad school as a therapist, which is how to ask very, very specific questions to get the person to make the realization that you want them to make. That's how we get more consistency in treatment. And you know as well as I do, if it's your idea, you're going to do it. If I tell you what to do, you're going to screw it, piss off. So yeah.
That's the thing about advice. It's like nobody needs more advice. They just need to act on the advice that's already out there, But how do you get them to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, there's a couple of things right there. All right. Where can people find you? Where do you want people to go? If somebody wants to hire you to be on your show, listen to your show, have you do a keynote speech, whatever, where do they go? What do they do?
That's a great question. All of my contact information, if you want to buy shit from me, is on offensivelycreative.com. I said shit because that's offensive, and the thing is offensively creative, which is, granted, shit is not very creative, but it is vaguely offensive to some idiots. There's war, there's famine, there's disease. If you're mad at the words that are coming out of my mouth, there's something fundamentally wrong with you. So you can go there, and my show, which is on Gigglebutt on YouTube, is called Goodnight America. There's a whole bunch of Andrew Dice Clay clips on there because somehow we own the licenses to that, which is bizarre. But Goodnight America, what we do is we interview the very best and brightest nonfiction authors that the planet has to offer. We do a deep dive into their subject matter. I try to get my material out there too because I'm hilarious. But go over there and subscribe. That's how we get paid. It's nice.
That's awesome.
So there we go. Offensivelycreative.com and Gigglebutt on YouTube.
That's awesome. All right, everybody. Well, that's a wrap for our episode of Rise Above the Noise. If this conversation gave you something to think about, just share it with somebody. Come on, you got to share this with people. There's no way that you don't want to share this with anybody. And of course, make sure you subscribe because this is a newer show coming out. We'd appreciate any of those likes, subscribes, and comments. Now, for more insights and be able to download the Eric Ryan playbook, you have to click on the show notes and you guys can go ahead and get your playbook. And listen, here's the deal. Do whatever you can to make your voice impossible to ignore. I'm Matt Halloran, and I'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon. Hey, don't touch that dial yet. Before you go, get a copy of the tools and strategies to rise above the noise shared by our guest in this week's playbook. To claim your free playbook and access our growing collection, go to proudmouth.com/playbook. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Here's to rising above the noise, one episode at a time.